You know, I really hope this is a straight pizza making guide, and not some silly video with the character. Oh, god damn it.
Welcome to Pasqually's kitchen. I am Pasqually.
And I am very unsettled. And not a master of the uncanny valley.
I'm so excited about my new pizza dough. It's so nice and crispy and crunchy and tastes so fine.
It's so good I can't move my face after eating it.
It's gonna make your job easier and help you be more organized and ready for those busy times when it gets so wild and crazy.
I didn't know the Strunk brothers worked at Showbiz Pizza.
And I'll teach you all about how to make not just any pizza, but a Showbiz Pizza.
I'm making a distinction so you don't think the pizza will turn out tasting good.
First, mixing and bunning the dough. Start out by filling the water bucket. For the dough to achieve its greatest glory, the water must always be between 70 and 80 degrees. So you say, Pasqually, how do you know whether to use 70 or 75 or 80 degree water? Well,
I didn't say that, but go on.
You're gonna need to measure the temperature of the dough after you mix it every single time. You want that dough to be between 76 and 82 degrees right after it finishes mixing. If it is more than 82 degrees, use colder water, maybe 70 or 72 degrees, for your next batch of dough. If the dough is colder than 76
can I put the thermometer down now?
Warmer water next time. You see what I was saying? Oh, by the way, if the water coming out of your faucet isn't cool enough, you can put in a little ice to get it right. That's fine by me. Just to make sure you let it melt completely and stir it up. Okay, so now you got the right water temperature and the bucket's full almost to the top. Put the bucket on the scale and weigh it. You're gonna need 23.5 pounds of water for a 50-pound sack of dough mix. If you're using a 25-pound sack of dough mix, you're gonna need only 11.75 pounds of water.
But what if it's smaller than 25 or bigger than 50? Give me the answers, you chef bastard!
To put too much water in your bucket and have to take some out, than to have to add more. Because then you gotta check your water temperature again, don't you? Now, pour the water into the bowl and add 1 bag of dough mix to the water.
You know what? Just toss the bag in there too. You know, get some roughage in the pizza.
Place the dough hook on the mixer and raise the bowl up.
Truly riveting imagery here.
Set the mixer on a speed 1 and set the timer for 7 minutes. You're gonna mix the dough on a speed 1 for the whole time. When the dough is mixed and the timer rings, find somebody to help you take the dough out of the bowl and put it on a nice clean table and check the temperature.
Don't try to take it yourself. We don't do workman's comp here.
To be between 76 and 82 degrees. If you write down the temperature of the water you used and what your dough temperature was after mixing, it will help you with your next batch. Now, you gotta separate the dough into buns right after it mixes. So don't you run away and do something else.
I didn't wash my hands after using the bathroom. Should I be doing this?
And get it into the refrigerator. So get to work and make those little dough balls. Be sure to work that dough into nice round buns and seal the bottom real good. If the dough is getting a little dry while you're working with it, put a plastic bag over it to keep it moist. Put the different sized buns in clean dough trays with 8 large buns per tray, 10 medium buns per tray, 15 small buns per tray, and 20 individuals or calzones per tray.
Had to say calzone, so you know this is authentic Italian pizza.
It's a neat little story. Maybe I'll tell you later. When you finish loading up the trays, brush every little dough bun completely with oil, covering the whole bun. Be very careful to oil the sides.
Well-oiled buns are an important part of working at Showbiz Pizza.
Make a circle with your brush all around the bun.
If you need help oiling your buns, ask another employee. They'll be glad to help. We get it, you're Italian.
Dry, ragged edges. After you oil your buns, you're gonna label each tray with these fancy colored stickers. Each sticker has a different day of the week right on it. Always label the tray with the next day's sticker, because the dough is only gonna be good for 38 hours. That means you can only use it until the closing the next day.
I mean, you can use it after. I mean, who's gonna notice?
Sticker on it. On the bottom of the sticker, you need to write the size of the buns. Large, medium, small, individual, or calzones.
Are these the buns that Sir Mix-a-Lot was singing about?
Walk-in refrigerator. Slide the trays into the roll-around cart. And when it's full of trays, or as soon as you finish a bun in each batch, roll the cart into the walk-in refrigerator. But don't cover up those buns yet.
Keep your buns uncovered for the croupy Italian chef.
2 degrees before you can cover them. Otherwise,
They had to know when they were writing this. They had to know the double entendres with the buns, right?
Check the buns with a thermometer to make sure they are 42 degrees before you cover them. It usually takes about 4 to 6 hours to chill the dough. When they are 42 degrees, cover the whole rack with a big plastic bag and clip it at the bottom so the dough buns don't dry out. The buns must be refrigerated at least 6 hours before you can roll them out and use them. It don't matter how long it takes for them to reach 42 degrees. You always gotta wait 6 hours before you can use them to make our famous
And if you take them out a minute early, I'll find you, and you don't want to know what I'll do to you. Look up. Look at the camera. Don't look at the cameraman's junk.
Pizza crusts. Take the buns from the walk-in and let them warm up in a nice warm spot in the kitchen for at least 20 minutes. If you roll them out when they're cold from the refrigerator, you're gonna get those ragged edges on your crust again. Be sure and keep them covered while they are warming up so they don't get all dried out. After they've warmed up, flatten each bun gently to about half its original thickness. Be sure to keep them round and don't stack them after you flatten them out. Then, real lightly, flour just the bottom of the bun and pat off any excess flour. Drop it onto the top of the dough roller and measure it to make sure it's the right size. If it's right, it'll be just wide enough to reach the outer ring of the appropriate size screen. Use a large screen for a large bun, and so on. If it isn't the right size, adjust the knobs on the side of the machine until it comes
And be
out
careful not to get your hand stuck in there. Last guy who did that, well, let's just say his hand came out right.
Little changes in size. Then run the crust through the lower rollers and check to make sure it comes out the exact size of the screen. If it doesn't, adjust the lower knobs on the machine. If the crusts are not the right size coming out of the roller, you're going to have a lot more trouble and take a lot more time panning those guys. And they don't make a very pretty baked pizza either. After you roll them out, you need to brush.
Just use the same brush that the janitor uses on the floors. We only have the one.
With the dry side up and shape it into a perfect circle. Now you gotta brush the inside edge of the pizza pan with oil and turn the pan upside down over the crust. Flip it over so the crust falls into the pan. The dry side of the crust should always be facing down in the pan. Shape the crust in the pan so that there is 1/4 inch of space between the top of the lip of the pizza and the top edge of the pan. If the crust is too high in the pan, it will stick to the pan covers later. Now, cover each pan crust with a clean separator. Put it on upside down. Then stack them according to size on a rack and label each stack with the time you finish rolling them out. Let the crust sit at room temperature until they rise and get a little puffy before you can bake them. This is called proofing the crusts. It's important because they make my crust cook up nice.
You can only call it yours if you actually do the work on it. All you do is stand around and talk about making pizzas. I've yet to see you make one pizza.
Your kitchen, the faster they will proof for you. You can move the rack next to the oven to make them proof faster. Or you can also put stacks of pizzas on top of the oven to speed up the proofing even more. Be sure to check them often so they don't get too puffy. You'll know the crusts are fully proofed and ready for topping and baking when the bottom of the crust is real puffy and 2 to 3 times its original thickness. It should feel nice and light and airy. The lip should be puffy too and well rounded. When you press the bottom of the crust lightly with your finger, the dough should never spring back. It should leave an impression in the dough. If it springs back, it's not ready yet. The crust should not be dry or crusty. It should be a little moist, but not wet. When the crusts look like this, they can be topped and baked, or they can be refrigerated to stop them from rising any further until you need them later. You can place them in the bottom of the maker table, or a reach-in, or the walk-in refrigerator. Be sure to label each stack of crusts with the time you put them in the refrigerator. The proofed crusts must be used within 8 hours, or else you got.
We say you have to throw it away, but you can still use it as long as you swap around the labels every so often.
Gotta be thrown out too. They cannot be saved and used the next day. Now,
good job, just flail around like there's a rat crawling up your pants.
Bake a Showbiz Pizza Time pizza. If you put your proofed crusts in the refrigerator, you gotta let them warm up some before you use them, at least 30 minutes. Otherwise, they're not gonna rise or get nice and brown in the oven. When they do warm up, top them with a heaping ladle of pizza sauce. Spread it real good so the whole crust is covered with my delicious sauce. Next, sprinkle the correct portion of cheese evenly over the sauce, and add the other toppings.
Yeah, no need for gloves or anything.
And don't center load that pizza. Center loading is putting too many of the toppings in the very center of the pizza. The toppings melt to the center during the baking anyway, so put them more toward the outside of the pizza. Now we're gonna bake the pizza. This is my favorite part. I can hardly wait until it comes.
You should not be this excited about pizza.
Another pizza by Pasqually.
A lot of help. I did the whole thing. All you did was stand around and act like a bad Italian stereotype.
Don't you pull that pizza out of the oven early. If you do, the cheese won't finish melting. When the pizza has finished baking, take it out of the pan and brush that nice crispy lip of the pizza with a special garlic spread before you cut the pizza.
We use that spread to keep vampires out of the restaurant.
Be careful not to put too much on. You don't want to make the pizza crust too greasy. Ah, you smell that garlic? Now, check the pizza real close to make sure it has all the distinguishing characteristics of
rubbery texture, gross-looking exterior, garlic smell too strong. This is a cheap pizza, all right.
The lip of the crust should be puffy, well-rounded, and nice and thick all the way around the entire edge. The bottom and lip of the crust should be crisp and crunchy. You can tell when you cut it if you...
Either that or a mouse got into the dough again.
The cheese on top should be totally melted and browned. And the lip of the crust should shine from that wonderful garlic spread that you, the pizza artiste...
Carefully brushed, haphazardly spread, tomato.
If you're proud of the pizza masterpiece, go ahead and cut it.
Just slice that pizza like you're slicing your worst enemy in half.
Never use a wet tray. It will make that delectable crispy crust soggy in a second. If the pizza don't look like this, a thing of a beauty to behold.
And give the crappy one to the kids who abuse the walk-around characters.
Nothing but the best served to our guests. Put the pizza under the heat lamps in the service window and yell out your pizza time.
Called that not because it takes 8 minutes to make, but because the guy who invented the pizza recipe was called Dave 8 Minute. We'd call it a 15-second pizza, but that doesn't quite have the same ring to it. Not that the customer would know who put the pizza down, just who served it to them, so it's their reputation on the line.
You and me. we can make every Showbiz Pizza time pizza a masterpiece.
They totally don't come to see us because of the animatronics, arcade, or ball pits. It's definitely the pizza.
As a pizza chef, you are representing the proud tradition of a Pasqually.
Is he rubbing his stomach or playing air guitar?
Each of you plays an important role in ensuring that our guests get the best pizza we can make. It takes a lot of teamwork and a lot of pride in a job well done. I'm glad to have you carrying on the proud Showbiz Pizza time tradition. With our crust...
Don't you mean favoloso? That was Spanish, Mr. Couldn't Be More Italian if he was voiced by Charles Martinet.
Is in the crust. Oh yeah, I was gonna tell you about a calzone. Well, you see...
No Italian would name their child calzone.
Who started a chain of bowling alleys in Rome and... Oh, never mind. I'll tell you later. Keep up with the good pizzas. Ciao!
If by school you mean 16-minute video, then yeah, I guess this was a school. Thank you all for watching, and if you liked the video, you can hit subscribe and watch one of my other videos. My videos can be found on any of these fine sites, and if you want to help out, maybe consider supporting the show on Patreon. See you next time.